point in the week.
A reasonably important factor.
I would say I've been flamingoed like that. It's not fun. Okay?
Flamingoed? Is that the the term?
Think about the knee going the wrong way.
It's the wrong way.
And thank goodness it isn't worse then necessarily than just what you see on your screen. And maybe the Bears are a team they could beat even without Ezekiel Elliott, although they looked a little better Monday night against New England. That's not the point of the story. There was also sneaky big news yesterday in their own division. The Eagles making what I think is a significant acquisition, going out and trading for Robert Quinn from the Bears. The unbeaten Eagles adding to their arsenal, bolstering what is already a great defensive line. And I tell you what, Graziano, you used to cover baseball. And you know what this reminds me of a little bit? There was a moment in time when there was an arms race in the American League East between the Yankees and the Red Sox, right? They got somebody. We got to get somebody. We got to counter. The Cowboys, I'm just going to say it right now. They've got 5 days, however far away next Tuesday is, to make a move. The Eagles are all in. They make the big trade here. I believe the Cowboys need to find some way to go out there and make a move that is consequential for this season. What do you think?
I don't think that they will, but I do have to point out.
Why would you say that like that? Why, I'm all excited. Why would you say I don't think that they will?
Ask me a question and I answered. Am I supposed to lie to you?
They need to do it. Their owner is 80. This is their window. The entire NFC stinks besides the one team they're chasing.
You know that they made a trade on Tuesday? Like they added a defensive lineman, Jonathan Hankins from the Raiders. That's a pretty good player in terms of stopping the run. It's not as flashy as the edge rusher and Robert Quinn, a name everybody knows. But look, everybody goes back to the year they traded for Amari Cooper.
And it worked.
And it worked. They needed a number one receiver. They needed any receiver, and he was a number one, and he was young. They thought, it's a first-round pick. He's still very young. He's better than anybody we'd take in the first round next year. He can help us right now and in the future, and they're right about all that. So if a deal like that was out there, sure. But tell me who that player is.
Jerry Jeudy.
Jerry Jeudy? Really?
Yes.
Like he's established himself as a number one receiver?
No, not for a first-round pick. They don't need a number one receiver. They need another receiver. Michael Gallup had a combined total of 0 points, 0 catches, 0 fantasy points.
I was going to say, now it sounds like you're talking about.
Well, take it from one who knows. Michael Gallup got me 0 on DraftKings on Sunday. Thanks a lot.
This sounds personal now.
No, but the point is, that offense last year was special. And then they traded Amari Cooper for a 5th-round pick to the Cleveland Browns.
That was a financially driven decision.
And let's just see. But that's my point is that the moment to push your chips to the center of the table has come. There were like 3 good teams in the entire NFC, and they're one of them. This is their moment for the Cowboys. I got no buyers over here. How do I look on this side?
They're not going to trade away a top pick because then you're going to lose your draft equity. So if they can get, I don't know, you said in the production meeting, like a Bourne-type player.
Kendrick Bourne.
Type player for a 6th-round pick. Sure, like a little addition, a good piece.
I'll take it.
I'll
take Kendrick Bourne.
But I would say this: the Eagles and Quinn, that was a heck of a move.
Yes, it was.
Because a pass rusher is one of the easiest things to just transfer. Go to a new team, put your hand on the ground. Go get that guy with the ball. Go get the quarterback. The receiver position, if you trade for a receiver, it's going to be 3 to 5 weeks before that guy feels comfortable enough in the system, or he could go out there, say they run no huddle, say they run something that's fast tempo. It's going to take a bit to learn. So I think that a receiver position, if you're going to go with a higher draft pick, it has to be a big-time possession receiver that you could say, hey, run a fade, you throw the ball up to him. And I don't know if anyone out there is available that big in that type of player.
That's why historically there hasn't been as much activity at the NFL trade deadline as the baseball one.
Right.
You can't just like trade for a second baseman,
right?
And he comes and he plays second base. Like you have to learn the new offense, new defense, whatever it is.
Here's all I will say: that the way everything has shaped up, and they won 4 games with a backup quarterback, and they get Dak Prescott back, and you look at the landscape of the NFC. I will say right now, anything short of the NFC Championship game will be a disappointment for this Cowboys team. They are clearly good enough to be sitting there in the NFL's Final Four this year, and if they don't, that was a failure.
But if they believe that about themselves, then they don't have the desperation to make a move. The year they got Amari Cooper, they felt like they weren't good enough, and they had to do something. I think what we've seen this year from them indicates to them that they are good enough, that they are one of the best teams in the NFC.
Well, we'll see. I mean, look, they were, 14 seconds away last year against San Francisco, and who knows that one player can make a 14-second difference. I'll take Kendrick Bourne if that's the best you offer me. All right.
Give the ball to the ref. Give the ball to the ref.
Much more on this as we can.
Have one head-to-head win against them, and frankly, have all year looked like the better team. The Packers have a lot of issues to fix. I'm not saying they can't fix them, but I think the time it will take to do that will probably put them too far behind. And if they make the playoffs this year, it'll probably be because they got hot late and got a wild card.
All right, so that video you see there of Aaron Rodgers just sort of lying there face down is sort of common of the thought that we have here. Here was Rodgers yesterday. Okay, let me explain what happened here. Okay, so Aaron Rodgers the other day had these comments on Pat McAfee's show in which he was critical of his teammates and actually talked about sitting them down. This is the quarterback, not the coach, talking about possibly benching players. That obviously came up again as he met with the media yesterday. Here's what he said.
People don't think I need to air that stuff out. That's their opinion. But I'm doing what I think is the best interest of our guys. And I've tried a lot of different things from a leadership standpoint this year. And, I was just relating my personal feelings on the situation. I didn't call anybody out by name. I'm alerting everybody that this hasn't been good enough and we all got to do a little better job. If one of those guys has a problem with it, I'm right here. I'd love to have a conversation.
It's everything he says is just so fascinating. And so yesterday, Nico, as a former player, I'm dying to hear your perspective. A lot of the former players here had an issue with a player suggesting that playing time needs to be taken away from others. What did you think of that?
I don't have an issue with it. It's Aaron Rodgers. The status of Aaron Rodgers and what Aaron Rodgers has accomplished in his career, if he feels that a receiver isn't running the proper routes, isn't being in the spots that he needs to be versus certain looks defensively, then he could easily say this guy needs to have a few reps taken away. Let's give somebody else a chance. I don't have a problem with that one bit because I would say that Aaron Rodgers probably understands a little bit more on how to look into a player and how to feel a player on the field versus what a coach knows just standing on the sidelines. Because Aaron Rodgers has been in situations where he has confidence in his receivers that had veteran receivers in the past, and now he's trying to work with a young group of guys that are learning as they go. I have no issue with this. Aaron Rodgers has earned the right to do that, and I can guarantee that other veteran quarterbacks in the past have influenced the amount of reps that a receiver has gotten on a football field based on their status. Tom Brady, maybe? Certainly.
I would add to that, and Graz, I'll come to you in a second there because this is Dan's game this weekend. I would add to that in some ways it feels like Rodgers the last couple of weeks has been sending messages to the man in the middle of your screen there.
This guy right here, right?
Head coach Matt LaFleur.
Of course.
I feel like he's not, that Rodgers is to some degree questioning the offense they're running, and to some degree now maybe he's questioning the people who are on the field running it.
And I totally agree with you because at one point Aaron Rodgers said, well, maybe we need to just simplify some things and pull back a little bit. And the guy in the middle said, I don't know what you're talking about. I think our offense is great.
Yeah.
So there probably is a little bit of frustration here when everybody's winning and everyone's happy. Things are great.
Yeah.
Relationships are great. When you start to lose and people are questioning the philosophy on how you're calling offense and as a head coach that's an offensive mind, that maybe he feels like his toes are being stepped on a little bit as a head coach when Aaron Rodgers is saying maybe we need to dial back the offense.
I think the critical difference here is, right, and Aaron's sitting there saying if anybody has a problem, they can come talk to me. The guy in the middle will do that. I mean, like, if there is a problem, like, he has the stature in the organization to do it. I don't know if there's another player in the locker room who does. Right? Like, Aaron can sit and say that if they have a problem, come talk to me. But if you're one of these young receivers, are you really going to walk up to Aaron Rodgers at his locker and say, hey, man, what's the deal? Do we have an issue here? I just don't think that's how it works. And I think this speaks to sort of the generational thing we're talking about, right?
That's it.
He's a lot older than the young players on his team. And it may be we're dealing with a generation that gets motivated differently than the players he's used to playing with over the years. And so I think that dynamic is at play here as well.
And I would say when you talk about that, the generational thing, I'm going to date myself a little bit. Back in my day, when I was a rookie, there was this you have to earn things step by step. It wasn't all at once. You didn't just get the biggest contract right when you walked in the building or a starting position. You had to run down on kickoff. You had to play punt team. You had to pay your dues. Pay your dues.
It's not a big thing these days.
Not a big deal. I mean, it's not. People don't understand the pay your dues thing. You have to pay your dues and work your way into a position. And while you're doing that, you're learning how to be a great football player.
Oh, by the way, they play at Buffalo this Sunday night. They're a double-digit underdog. It's the first time that Rodgers has ever been.
Just what they need.
A double-digit underdog.
Buffalo.
Well, Rodgers actually said Sunday after their loss last week, maybe this is just what we need.
Maybe.
Right now.
or not.
Or maybe not. The point is, you have the game this week.
Yeah.
So you're talking to a lot of the people there. I think a lot of us on the outside look at this and imagine that this is just utter chaos, that everything there is just a complete mess. What are you hearing from the people inside the building?
Look, I think first of all, to the point of the LaFleur-Rodgers relationship, I think they're okay. Like they can talk to each other, right? Like they have that. In terms of the locker room, I think that's the interesting part. Like, where are the solutions coming from? And I think that's where Aaron Rodgers is sort of reaching, I don't want to say the end of his rope, but kind of getting close to that, right?
I would add to this that at some level, when you have played a long time and you're a veteran and you're the star quarterback and you're making the big money and you have young players that are really just coming into the league and learning like how to be a football player, you have to be one of the guys. And sometimes as a quarterback, you're like an alien, right? You don't hang out in the same spots. You don't drink the same drink, eat the same food. You don't do the things that the rest of the team does. And I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers isn't doing that.
I don't think
but
that's
I don't see him.
it.
I don't see him. With the team dynamic, maybe these young guys don't know how to approach him.
Yeah,
Because
I
he's
mean, you
Aaron
hear a lot.
Rodgers.
You hear a lot about him. Making a point of in the cafeteria, going having breakfast or lunch with the younger receiver, like that kind of stuff. So he does do that kind of reaching out inside
Outside the building.
Outside, you're talking about
Outside the building.
No, that's what I don't know.
I think the problem that we have here is a central one. Aaron Rodgers is the ultimate win-now player. You don't re-sign Aaron Rodgers, who is clearly, by his own words, taking it day by day, much less year by year, unless you are all in to win it right this minute.